Hello, sir.
Hello, kind lady.
Bring the band in.
What's going on, everybody? Michael Anthony here today, along with my lovely wife, Jennifer. Today, I'm gonna be teaching you how to create dramatic lighting utilizing the lights that we have here in the studio. But I want you to understand something. All of the lighting that I'm gonna be talking to you about today is applicable whether you're shooting in the studio or outside. Now, what is dramatic lighting? Dramatic lighting essentially just refers to the balance of highlights and shadows along with the balance between ambient light and strobe. And many people refer to dramatic lighting in their own terms, the way that they define it, right? But the way that I personally define dramatic lighting is light that has a lot of dynamic shadow, a lot of dynamic highlight, and is gonna be a little bit more contrasty and maybe heavier on the shadow side, give or take. And I know that's a big description, but let's go ahead and get shooting and I'll go ahead and show you exactly what I'm talking about. So when we talk about dramatic lighting, I want you to think of the 3 Ds, okay? We have direction, we have diffusion, and we have dimension. We're gonna talk about all 3 of those today. Now, generally, the more that you increase the directionality of the light and also the dimension of the light, the more dramatic the light will be. But when it comes to diffusion, whether the light's hard or soft, that's really gonna depend on your own personal style and what conditions you're shooting in. But let's break down all 3 of these real quick, and let's go ahead and start by talking about direction of light. Now, generally, if we want more dramatic lighting, we have to get the direction of the light off the axis of the camera. So for instance, if I'm shooting from exactly where the camera's perspective is right now, the more that we move that light off to the side, the more shadow we're gonna create on the opposite side of the frame that the light is coming from. And what that essentially does, when you're moving the direction of the light, it also in turn increases the dimensionality, which we're gonna get to in a second. But let's take a couple of shots real quick so I can show you exactly what I mean. The first shot we're gonna do is the light generally directly overhead of our subject, and I want you to see what the light looks like, okay? Let's go ahead and do it. Perfect, one more time. You think you can do it 3 shots? Okay. Scoot over a little bit. You know what's really funny? Is that people, whenever they see me using you as a model, they're always like, you know, it must be nice to have a built-in model for free. And they don't understand that she's the most expensive model that I've ever worked with in my life.
That's not true.
It's totally true. All right, so now as you can see, that light was a little flat, right? Now, that's not a bad thing, okay? Sometimes there are very good uses for flat lighting, okay? Maybe your subject is a little older. Maybe you wanna fill in the wrinkles or the texture on their skin. There's a lot of...
Not this time.
Not this time. There's a lot of reasons why you might wanna use flat lighting, but that's not the purpose of today's video. Today's video, I wanted to demonstrate that so I could show you the difference between that shot and also a shot where we get the lighting to be a little bit more dramatic. So for this next image, what I did is I took the light and I moved it to a little bit more than a 45-degree angle off of the camera's axis. So what we're gonna do here now is we're gonna take another shot. I'm gonna shape her pose a little bit differently, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about that right now. When we're posing our subject, generally what looks better is if we can create short side light on their face and also short side light on their body. So in order to do that, what I'm typically gonna do is take my subject and turn her hips away from the light source, just like this. That's you. You gotta move now.
Oh.
Yeah, there we go. Away from the light source like this. Then we're gonna go ahead and turn her face back into the light source, have her lean forward. There's a lot of stuff getting into posing. We'll make more videos on that in the future, but I just wanna show you here how we shape the light around our subject when we're going for drama, okay? So let's go ahead and take this next shot and see what that looks like. Like that. Bring that other hand to your hip too. Both of them on your hips, yep. Come back. All right, so as you can see, as we get that light off to the side, okay, we're creating a lot more shadow or highlight to shadow transition, which in turn will make the light a little bit more cinematic or dramatic, depending on how you want to define it, okay? But adding shadow to your images is going to help create a little bit more drama, a little bit more interest into your photos. Now, let's just say we were to take that shot outdoors and the conditions weren't great and maybe you had too much contrast, right? Maybe you're battling the sun and you're trying to get your aperture up to like f/16 or something like that, and you've just got too much contrast, too much highlight, too much shadow, right? How do you fix that? Well, there's a couple of ways to do it, but the way that I prefer to do it is to utilize a fill light, right? And we do this in the studio all the time. A fill light would be taking a light that goes opposite the side of your key light and just utilizing that at a power maybe 2 stops less than whatever your key light is in order to reduce some of the contrast on the shadow side of your subject. It works really, really good. Now, one of the things I do want to mention whenever whenever you're using a fill light is make sure that you are utilizing the same modifier, right? So you do not want to have soft light as your key light and then hard light as your fill light. I mean, maybe, again, all rules in photography are meant to be broken, but as a general rule, you want to make sure that the two lights match. So now that you understand how directionality impacts the dramaticism. I was doing Dr. Evil quotes. Did you see that?
I don't understand.
Dr. Evil quotes.
Yeah.
The drama. Now that you know how directionality impacts the drama in your photo, let's get into the next step, which is dimension. Now there's a couple of ways to create dimension, and one of them, directionality, obviously helps create dimension, right? But the other thing is to create layers of lighting in your photos, okay? So what we're gonna do, we already started off with a key light right here. One of the ways that we can add a little dimension to our images is to add a kicker light or a rim light. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the kicker light, and I'm gonna show you what kind of a difference that makes in your photo. Generally for a kicker light, I try to use a light opposite the side of my key light. Now, for many people, if you're photographing outdoors in the sun, okay, you may opt to utilize the sun itself as your kicker light. The rules for the kicker light don't necessarily apply where you have to have the same kind of softness on your key light and your kicker light. You can have a hard kicker light and a soft key light. That, to me, is totally okay. Again, your mileage may vary. But let's go ahead and add in that kicker light. Let's see what it does to our image and see how it changes this picture to make it more dramatic. That looks dope. I like that.
Looks so much better with that kicker light.
That's the point. I feel really emasculated for this. So now that you see how the kicker light can affect the image, which I think makes a pretty big impact. By the way, guys, it's one of my favorite tricks when I want to create an image that has more drama is to add that kicker light into the scene. Now, if we're outdoors and we're taking a super wide shot, sometimes that means you have to plate that shot out, meaning take a photo without that kicker light in the shot so that you can go into Photoshop, add the layers on top of each other, and then brush it out. But for right now, talking about closer up portraits like that, you see how much of a difference that layer of lighting makes. But let's take this a step further real quick, okay? What can we do to create another layer of lighting? We've got our key light, our kicker light. Well, we can do one more thing, and we can add a background light behind our subject, assuming, of course, that there is a background behind our subject. If you're shooting outdoors, you might not have a background directly behind them. But let's just say you got a wall, right? This is a way to instantly create an interesting photo, even outdoors when you don't have a lot of things going on. But let's go ahead and add the background light in right now, and I'll show you exactly what it does to the picture. Right there, hold that 1, 2, and 3. And again, 1, 2, and 3. You wanna see it?
Crazy eyes?
In the first shot, they were just like a little lazy, not crazy.
Oh, so you caught me blinking.
Yeah.
That was you. That's a you problem.
All right, guys, so now you know how directionality and dimension will influence the drama in your photograph. The last step right now is diffusion. So what is diffusion? Well, diffusion means different things to different people, but the way that I'm defining it in order to maintain the 3D acronym right here is diffusion means how hard or how soft your lighting is, right? You've seen soft lighting, that's what we've been using right here. And really, you can get dramatic lighting with harder light or softer light. It really just depends on how you like to utilize lighting. Now, for me personally, I like to match the conditions that my subject are standing in. So if we're standing outside in the sun, I generally like to use bare bulb flash or some sort of a hard reflector because it makes sense, right? Generally, that's, again, a rule meant to be broken. If we're standing in soft light, like we're inside, like right now, I will generally like to use softer light sources in order. Is she counting my generalities right now, right?
What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
And then I feel like you're gonna smack me too.
Okay.
When you're talking, I'm like trying to like dodge around. Yes.
Okay, even though I wouldn't do this in a normal environment, let's go ahead and switch this up to hard light real quick. And then I'm gonna show you what the images will look like so that you can see how they're a little bit different, or a lot different, depending on how you look at them, than utilizing the soft light. Now, real important, when we're utilizing hard light inside the studio, we wanna make sure that we're controlling that light, okay? So I'm gonna leave my kicker light and my background light the same. All I'm gonna do is change this 5-foot octabox right now to a bare bulb ProPhoto D2 with a snoot on it, which is a hard light source. And you're gonna see how much more shadow this creates because we don't have this 5-foot softbox throwing the light all over the room. So let's see what that looks like right now. That looks pretty good. Perfect, perfect. Looking at me. All right, so if you look in this image, you'll see that the shadow lines, the transition between light and shadow are much more abrupt, meaning we have a harder light source right here because the light source is obviously a lot smaller than the 5-foot octa that we had on before. So that again is more of an aesthetic preference, right? That depends on how you like your images to look, whether you like hard light or soft light. I will tell you that it is a little easier to control your light as far as like creating more shadow when you have a smaller light source, because obviously you can utilize modifiers like grids and things like that. Photography in general is going to be more subjective, right? So your definition of dramatic or cinematic, it may look a little different than what I showed you today. All right, guys, so now you see how directionality, dimension, and diffusion affect your images to help create more drama. The next video we're going to be doing is a tutorial on how to use gels in your photography in order to create more dynamic and interesting images. Thank you so much for checking out this video, and we will catch you on the next one.
Smash that like button.
Oh yeah, smash that like button, not this one, smash this one.
Yeah.
Smash this like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, do all the stuff that YouTubers tell you to do, and we will catch you on the next one. You think you can do it 3 shots? Yeah. Okay, cool.
So, wait, one more.
No, we're done.